Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Horowitz, I share your frustration with the Justice Department as well, but I'm going to shift to a slightly different topic, but still in this general area of frustration with lack of cooperation and lack of doing what I think they're required to do under the law. Are you aware of the fact that Lois Lerner's attorney, Bill Taylor, reported that Ms. Lerner sat down for a lengthy, that's his term, her attorney's term, lengthy interview with the Justice Department regarding the situation of targeting of conservative groups in that criminal investigation?
I'm not personally aware of it, but I think I've read somewhere along the way.
And my question is, do you find that strange that Ms. Lerner is willing to sit down with the Justice Department but not willing to answer Congress's questions?
It'd be difficult for me, Congressman, to answer that without knowing.
But just sort of, I mean, you're an accomplished lawyer, just a general point that, you know, it's the Justice Department that can put her in jail. We can't put her in jail. We're just trying to get information so that the American people can know what happened when the IRS systematically targeted people for exercising their First Amendment rights. Don't you think that's a little strange?
You know, it would be hard for me to opine on what the strategy was there.
Mr. Horowitz, last year the United States House of Representatives voted, with 26 Democrats, I might add, voted to call for a special prosecutor at the Justice Department to look into this investigation. And on May 7th, 2014, May 7th of last year, 9 months ago, the U.S. House held Lois Lerner in contempt of Congress. Do you have any information about what U.S. Attorney Ron Machen is doing with that contempt of Congress resolution he has as District Attorney for the District of Columbia?
I don't.
Do you know how the statute reads, Mr. Horowitz? The statute says, Section 194 says that such certification having been made, the contempt resolution having been made, it shall be the duty to bring the matter before the grand jury. Are you familiar with Section 194?
I'm generally familiar with it.
And wouldn't that seem to point out rather clearly that Mr. Machen should take this to the grand jury?
You know, I certainly think there are questions there and to ask about the
Now, there's my understanding, and again, you've been at the Justice Department a long time. I've looked at your bio before, very accomplished attorney. There is an exception for the U.S. Attorney to not take this to a grand jury. Do you know what that exception is, Mr. Horowitz?
I don't off the top of my head.
I will tell you. It's executive privilege. So if there's executive privilege, it doesn't have to take it. So again, thinking about recent things Congress has done, that executive privilege exception would apply to, say, the contempt resolution of Attorney General Holder, correct?
I'm not sure. I've sort of looked at this, frankly.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think there's any type of executive privilege that exists between, for Lois Lerner?
Congressman, I'd have to pass on opining on that.
But as a lawyer, the only way executive privilege would exist for Ms. Lerner is if she had some kind of conversation with the President or his key advisors. Isn't that correct?
My general understanding of executive privilege law would be that.
Okay. Have you looked into why Mr. Machen has not taken this to the grand jury?
We have not, and we would not be allowed to look into that under the jurisdictional authority of our statute, or we would have questions certainly to raise about that, about whether we could even look at that.
If this committee asked you to look into that, could you look into it?
I don't believe so, although we would certainly want to look more closely at it, the issue being that under the IG Act, our office is limited to, in what we can do to oversee allegations of misconduct by department lawyers.
Okay. Finally, the last thing I would say is this, Mr. Chairman. This is a pattern. The executive branch agencies, first, they drag their feet. They don't comply with things Congress wants. I mean, we have a subpoena, as just a recent example. We have a subpoena that came from this committee in August of 2013 dealing with the situation that took place in Benghazi, and we've yet to have the State Department comply with that subpoena a year and a half ago. So there's all kinds of examples where executive branch agencies won't work with Congress, won't comply with the law, just like these Inspector Generals are pointing out today, as they pointed out in Mr. Horowitz's letter from today. And now we find out it's across the board. So this is, I mean, a very appropriate hearing, and I appreciate the Chairman doing this. And with that, I would yield back my time.